Welcome back to Hospitality Mythbusters with Omar, the Energizer.
And Ioannis, the practical philosopher.
Brilliant. I got another good myth
Ioannis.
from Jose, and he says hospitality is always long hours, low pay. It's going to be a tough one to bust, but give it a try.
It depends which hospitality organization you work for.
But there's a key word here. He's giving us a little bit of help. I think Jose. Always. Let's focus on the
Always.
No. Always long hours and low pay.
I think you could ask that of a lot of industries. Who could make that case? Who could say that? You got to think about people who work in healthcare and hospitals. They're working long hours, and we know that in some cases they're not paid the best.
Okay. Do we have hospitality organizations that deliver humane hours? Because I think what we always tend to focus on is we tend to focus on organizations that we normally work, and we don't see other organizations that actually have a system where they don't have to work their employees to the bone. And also what we forget is we forget to look at other countries. I mean, take Holland, for example.
Yes.
The whole work-life balance, my experience at least, is an organization in Holland. They've got a much better understanding of life and what it is living it. So is hospitality always long hours and low pay? Let's think of some organizations that is not long hours. Can you think of any?
No, what's going through my mind as you're talking, the challenge we have within hospitality, when we are naturally hospitable people and we enjoy the work that we do, it's not so cut and dry. When a guest comes into a hotel and that guest, will you hang around after the shift to maybe connect with that guest because of your servant or your service philosophy or your work ethic? Will you go the extra mile because it's about providing service? So yes, do we end up hanging around longer than we normally would because we have friends at work who that we share different relationships with? So I think hospitality, when we tend to get into long hours, it's because we enjoy the environment. It's not to say that there is a general manager standing at the door telling people you can't leave. That's not what they're doing. Yeah. We don't have heads of department within hospitality that are saying that, but we're dealing with people, and therefore the dynamic is constantly changing. So yes, could we be prone to working longer hours? But I think there's a choice there. There's not just about, it's not enforced.
I'm thinking, I'm thinking more sort of simple terms. Health spas. How many times have you gone to a health spa that the spa is not open, 9 to 5 is the normal, and if you're not there 9 to 5, you just can't use it. So there are elements of hospitality where there's still a 9 to 5 job, and it's not long hours. I think anything that associates with food and beverage, and I come from that environment, often is perceived as such, but what you said is quite true.
Exactly. Yeah, because it's unpredictable. This is the challenge we have with them. We can't predict how long someone is going to stay and sit and have lunch or dinner or breakfast.
But is it work? Is it work if you're enjoying it?
Well, exactly. That's the other case, isn't it? Is
So
we always say, find a job that you love to do, and then you'll never have to work another day in your life because you just love what you're doing. But the point is, it's so unpredictable. We don't know what's going to happen from day to day, and that's the charm of hospitality. It's like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get next unless you read what the chocolate contains. So you're always thinking about, when you're working in that environment, it is. We don't know who's going to come in. We don't know who's checking into a hotel or checking out. How long are they going to stay? What are they going to do? How are they going to respond?
Let's tackle the low pay, because I've got a good one of that one. And I hope the taxman in Greece doesn't come and catch me, because that was many years ago. I calculated, because it says that's always low pay. When I was a waiter in Greece at 18, 19, I remember when I was a good waiter, because I was waiter from 11, but I wasn't a good waiter. But at my peak of my waiter's career, I was earning more per hour, not from the salary necessarily, but the salary and the tips. I was earning more per hour than I'm earning today in my 47 years of age in academia.
Absolutely.
Because if you're asking me who wears long hours, I can tell you that people think academia is not long hours, but I can tell you that's not the case.
Yeah.
So low pay. We have cases of restaurateurs that have been picked that they take the tips and they supplement the minimum pay. Is that always the case, though?
No, I think that low pay, we need to think in relation to what?
Yeah.
In comparison to what? This is the question here. So are we saying it's low paid in comparison to the hours I work, the effort I put in? Is it low pay in consideration comparing what I do in terms of serving, in a restaurant as compared to serving in a retail store? Is it low pay in that relation? So I think a lot of the time, and I guess, guys, I'm just speaking from experience, where we get into these pay disputes within hospitality, it more or less comes down to, am I compensated in line with my contribution? Because when you are, it's never a case of pay. Pay's off the table. You pay me fairly for what I do.
Let me put one last thing that might work as a conclusion.
Yeah.
Let's say that hospitality is your career, not just a job, right?
Okay.
You've chosen to do a career and go with it as the years progress.
Yeah.
A reception manager in an office earns slightly more than a reception manager in a hotel.
Right.
But can a reception manager in an office progress further and faster than a reception manager in a hotel? My experience is that the reception manager gets to front office manager, revenue manager, and director much faster, earning more over their whole career, much, much more than the person who would work in the retail or the office environment. Am I wrong in that?
No, that's quite accurate, because if you think about the opportunities for growth, and it's not just about staying in front office if you're on the front desk. You could transition into food and beverage.
Yeah.
You could transition into a housekeeping, so there are other areas in which you can contribute to. It's no different if we're running a restaurant, and and I know where people have started as the meet and greet at the door and sitting people to the table, to the point where they've gone from that role to the restaurant manager.
Okay.
And from that role, the other thing is that you've got to think about is the exposure you get from that could potentially lead to you owning your own restaurant.
There you go.
You're not going to get that in an office environment, because you're not going to own your own office.
Busted?
Busted as far as I'm concerned.